Namaskar. We are continuing our Being Sanatani in the US series with Kushal Kelkar, and the Seattle Council deliberated and then finally voted for implementing a form of caste discrimination laws that I think is not a good idea. But I would like all our viewers to listen to a second generation American as to how he felt about it, growing up in the United States and now suddenly being slammed with something that probably caught many of them broadsided. This is my take. Let's see what Kushal says. Kushal, namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel.
Namaskar, thank you.
So, Kushal, many of us followed this for hours, hoping that Seattle would see reason, see clear through some mud, and vote the right thing. They needed to actually do a lot of research on what this really meant. But unfortunately, barring one person, everybody else voted along with the resolution. And I felt a certain emptiness in my stomach. I don't know about you. I would like you to share your thoughts with our viewers because you are the second generation American. You've grown up here, so take it away.
Yeah, for me, it was it really it hurt me as a Hindu. I felt that I am being discriminated against. I'm sure that majority of Hindus do feel this way, right? The reason is because as a Hindu, growing up in this country, there's already so much, racism, stigma that people do have to face. And now, we're also having to deal with this. And this is just very appalling to see because, we want to be treated, equally, just like everybody else, right? And so when they actually interfere in our, our umbrella, our religion, in terms of, understanding things, trying to pass laws and ordinances on things that they don't understand, and they're not interested in understanding. And that to me, that is discrimination because it's only going to increase misunderstandings within the Hindu community here in the United States. We have, we are the, I think one of like the top two diasporas in the United States in terms of how much we contribute to this country, right? And so somebody that grew up here, we are always taught that this is the land of the free. This is the home of the brave. This is the place where the whole world can come to find opportunity, to find equality, some hope, right? And so not that, as Indians, we need hope or anything like that, right? But, some people, they come here, to find that opportunity. So we are looking forward to be treated equally as Indians, as everybody else. And, especially Hindu Americans growing up here, they're already, having their own identity finding, right? They're in that phase. And to see something like this, I think it's very sad that this is happening in the United States, where everybody's supposed to be treated equally. And there's so much of campaigning for this. To me, it was absolutely very painful to see that's happening to my own community here.
Kushal, just for numbers' sake, Indian Americans comprise about 1% of the population of the United States, and they contribute 6% of the taxes, that the personal income taxes, perhaps even corporate together, but it's a significant number, 6% of the taxes collected. So there is a significant amount of contribution coming from Indian Americans, Gen 1, Gen 2, what have you. In fact, I don't know if you follow this, Vivek Ramaswamy, 37-year-old inventor who has become a VC, I think a 37-year-old, entrepreneur who has now thrown his hat in the ring for the president of the United States. I'm not sure he's a Republican, but he sounds like a Republican, whatever it is. Very impassioned speech, very, very articulate from what little I've seen. So people, and his stand is exact opposite of what the Seattle Council has just passed. So you're looking at the diametric opposite views here at play. How do you see yourself going in this?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely know the history of the of what they're talking about, which is the caste system in India. It is supposed to be a Varna Jati system, right? And so, them coming in and saying that, caste is wrong. I mean, the caste, first of all, is a very colonial institution. Institution. It is actually imposed on us, when it comes to the birth-based. So, it has crystallized, right? So, I know that history, and I think, a lot of Hindus do know that history, and that's why they're upset at it. And that's why most people, they know that, you know, the Varna-Jati system was actually a very horizontal system and not this vertical, birth-based, migratory or this hierarchy system, anti-migratory actually. The original one was migratory. It's like horizontal, right? Everybody was equal, but it was just based on profession and also interest capability. So we have that context. We know the history. We know what the colonial institutions have done to our Jati Varna system, and now we have this caste system. But I think some people here, they don't understand that. And so it's kind of painful to see that some Indians actually don't understand it either. But for me, and a lot of people like me, we do understand that context. And so it is very hurtful. They're coming in and trying to campaign for, our rights when we are not even asking for that. We already have the rights. And in fact, this is going to have the opposite effect on Hindus here. It's in fact going to only increase discrimination. So I think a lot of people do understand that context.
Now, have you had a chance to talk to some of your contemporaries about what happened in Seattle yesterday? What do they feel?
Yeah, so I did. We actually, held a long conversation about it, and a lot of people are upset. A lot of people do feel the same way. They feel hurt. They were hoping for this to not pass, and a lot of voices to be heard. But I think the experience was the opposite. We were not being heard, and I think there was some favoritism being shown there. And it's very sad to see that there was no equality there. That's the general sentiment amongst the people. Very, very upset.
Growing up, in your textbooks, were you taught about the caste system of India?
So growing up here, we actually did learn about the caste system in India. And, the way it's actually mentioned is very, very wrong. It's discriminatory. It's racist. It has a very racist connotation of it. And, so you'll see a lot of history about Europe. You'll see very detailed history on that. You'll see very little history about India and the South Asian continent, the Indian subcontinent. And you'll only find things like the caste system and the British colonial sort of degradation of it when it comes to, birth-based and how that affected Hindu society. But instead of understanding that British context, we're actually taught the wrong version of it, which is the fact that it was birth-based, and this is actually a flaw in Hinduism, and it is actually discriminatory by the so-called upper castes to the lower castes. There's a lot of subjugation, and there's racism, and there's oppression. And so it's very, very damaging to the Hindu psyche, especially the kids growing up in the United States that are Hindu, for them and what it means for them to be a Hindu, to know the truth. And a lot of times, the parents don't know what's going on, but this is being taught in schools, to where, they have the wrong understanding of history. And so the caste system is completely taught in a way where, if you happen to come from a family that is like a Brahmin family, you're made to feel absolutely ashamed, and if you're not, then you're made to almost hate your fellow Hindus and kind of be taught this distorted view of history.
Now, one of the interesting things I noticed, Kushal, was some of the speakers whom I kind of know of, meaning like I know their parents and lineage and so on and so forth. Here was one kid, ultra privileged. His father is a very successful VC, venture capitalist, and he was saying that he felt oppressed. I mean, you can stretch the truth a little bit, but you can't, if those people who know this individual know that the guy is lying through his teeth. Why are kids going to such extremes, in your opinion?
Yeah, so kids are going through extremes because I think they're brainwashed sometimes. Right, and so they don't really have the context about what the truth is, what the reality is. Kids these days and anywhere, right? So they are vulnerable. They're looking forward to society educating them on what the truth is and what the truth is not. And so when it's institutionalized, any kids, they're going to be vulnerable to that information, and they're going to just react upon that because they hold that as the truth. Kids are not, it's not their job to fact check what we teach them, right? And so as a society, if we're teaching them this kind of narrative, then they're going to go off of it. It's just very sad to see I think that, some parents, this is where the parents can play a big role. They can step in, they can educate the children, they can teach the children about who we are, about our culture, about the history, about how we always stood for equality. I mean, Hinduism or Hindutva is all about equality, right? It takes the best from what we call today is the right wing and the left wing, because it's actually for equality. It is for yes, of course, there's some conservative values in there to kind of preserve traditions and values, but there's also a sense of equality and prosperity for all. And so I think without understanding this context, kids just learning the wrong version of history, and when left unchecked and not corrected, it can be very damaging. So we do need to protect our kids and correct them wherever they have been taught this.
Now, a couple of years ago, there was a huge fight, if you will, for lack of a better word, with the California Board of Education, where the parents of children who are studying in public schools in California, we were trying to see and set right the history of how India Hinduism is portrayed. It's still kind of not there yet, but I think some changes are coming. I hope that this, goes on, and this history, this culture, this depiction of Hinduism, Sanatana Dharma gets fixed, because what happens in California today will propagate down to other states in the weeks and years and so on and so forth. My question to you is, we have our work cut out. We really do. We need to reclaim our identity. We need to reclaim our history. Right
Absolutely.
Now, we are not being allowed to tell what our history is. Somebody else is telling us our history. So I'm hoping that in the next episode, you and I will have a discussion about what really was the history of India, what was the culture, what does it mean when we say Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, and what exactly is Sanatana Dharma. And viewers, please help Kushal, help me by please liking and subscribing to our channel, and also click on the bell button for notification. It is important that youth understand what you are being subjected to, or you are about to be subjected to. So I hope that is enough encouragement for you to do this thing. Kushal, as always, a pleasure having you. If you would like to have a final word, please feel free.
Yes, I'm very grateful to kind of express what the community is feeling out there. But I feel that this is a time for self-reflection, for hope, and just see what we need to do to uplift our community, and what we can do for our kids and for the entire community, and help us understand what Hinduism is really about. So I'm very excited and looking forward to the next episode.
Thank you so much. Namaskar, and see you again, Kushal, soon.
Thank you.